Hey everyone, I'm John with Guitar Pickup Database, and today we're finishing up our series on the new DiMarzio Mirage pickups, which are Jake Bowen of Periphery's latest signature set. In our last video, we covered the Mirage Bridge and how it compares to the DiMarzio Titan. Now we're looking at the DiMarzio Mirage Neck and how it compares to the pickup it was based on, which is the DiMarzio Chopper. So now, before we jump into the analysis, there's some context that needs to be provided on the Mirage Neck pickup. Like I mentioned, this is Jake Bowen's signature pickup, but it also comes in his latest signature guitar, the Ibanez JBM 9999. I'm just going to call it the Ibanez JBM Quad 9. I'm going to say it a lot in this video. If we take a look at that guitar, it's apparent right away that the neck pickup doesn't sit in a common location. This guitar has 27 frets, and to accommodate that, the neck pickup has been pulled closer to the middle position. It's also angled instead of straight. Now, it's important to note this because, from what we can tell, the Mirage was designed specifically with this guitar in mind, and therefore the neck pickup was voiced specifically for this position. But as a consumer, unless you're buying the Ibanez JBM Quad 9, you're likely not going to use this pickup in that specific orientation. So the question becomes, how does this pickup sound in a more standard location? As well as, what am I missing by not using it in its designed location? Because I'm an ultra nerd about this stuff, and also because I have access to a 3D printer back there, I designed a pickguard that places the Mirage in both the standard location as well as the JBM's location. So stay tuned to hear audio examples of the different positions and how it changes the sound. With that, let's get into the analysis. Starting from the outside, these pickups are aesthetically identical. These are both part of DiMarzio's single coil sized humbucker product line, so this makes a lot of sense. DiMarzio's plastic covers and bobbins tend to have a very matte look to them, as opposed to some other companies which use a more glossy cover. There's nothing good or bad here, it's just a design choice, but it's also something to consider when matching these with non-DiMarzio pickups if you want them to match properly. Strangely, I've always loved the DiMarzio logo placement on these rail pickups, and I say that because generally I'm not a big fan of big company watermarks on pickups. I much prefer what some companies like Instrumental, Beta Blocker, and even PRS do, where the branding is a bit smaller but it feels a lot more special. But there's just something so classic about these DiMarzio pickups that I just can't fault it. On the bottom, we can see they changed the design fairly significantly. Instead of the wires coming directly out of the pickup, DiMarzio is using a quick connect system. I've never seen this on any DiMarzio pickups before. I wonder if they're testing the ability to do quick connects in new pickups, which I would be all for. Please do that, DiMarzio. But again, that's just speculation. Next, we see that the rail and magnet setup is different. The rails in the Chopper are straight across the bottom, and the ceramic magnet is connected between them. The Mirage has tabs in the rails sticking out, and the magnet is housed inside the pickup. This presented a problem for me because the Mirage's cover would just not come off. Trust me, I tried very hard, but I don't want to break this because ultimately I have to resell it so I can make more videos for you all. I was able to lift it slightly, and my best guess is that the neodymium magnet is stored within a slot inside the circuit board. The Mirage's board is slightly thicker than the Chopper's, so I'm guessing that's the main reason. From what I could see, there was no significant difference between the Chopper and the Mirage internally. Lastly, the Mirage uses a straight bass design, while the Chopper uses a more traditional trapezoidal bass. Now let's take a look at the specs. Similar to the Mirage Bridge and Titan, we have a fairly close DC resistance value between these two pickups, 8.34 for the Mirage and 9.13 for the Chopper. Besides the DC resistance, the major difference between these two pickups comes down to the magnet choice. The Mirage uses a neodymium magnet, whereas the Chopper uses a ceramic. This is the first instance I can recall of DiMarzio using a neodymium magnet in their rail pickup line. All of the other ones in that lineup are using ceramic magnets. Now, to be honest, I don't have a lot of experience with neodymium magnets, but from what I've been told, I was expecting it to create a much higher output. When I measured the magnetic strength of both pickups, I was really surprised to see that they were very close. 495 Gauss for the Mirage and 468 for the Chopper. So a little bit more power, but nothing near the difference you get when going from Alnico 5 to ceramic. To put that in perspective, that jump is usually around 150 to 200 Gauss, so a difference of 25 is not that substantial. So the magnet isn't really adding a ton of power, but it is shaping the tone, and we can see that very clearly in the resonance curves. While both pickups have nearly identical resonant frequencies, the peak of the Mirage is much tighter. This is going to lead to more focus in those frequencies. Now, to be clear, a tall peak is not inherently good. Some pickups have no peak, and this can make it sound muddy or unclear, but too tall of a peak can create a cocked wah sound that can be sharp and unpleasant. It's all about the goal of the tone. Wall of sound tones do better with smaller peaks, but for a band like Periphery who has 3 different guitar players, occupying a small frequency range is necessary to keep the mix clear. Now, let's listen to the audio clips. Each of these pickups were played through the same signal chain, with the pickup height set to 4mm from the low E and 2.5mm from the high E. For these demos, I found the resonance curves incredibly useful to guide my ears. It's hard to find the right language when describing sound, but I'm going to try my best. The Mirage, to my ear, sounded like a chopper, but with a bit of a high-pass filter. So I didn't really hear a brighter pickup, but more like it had bass removed. What's interesting was that it wasn't equally noticeable across each demo. I thought that the clean track and the Periphery lead were more noticeable, but it felt subtler on the crunch and melodic lead. This revoicing of the chopper makes perfect sense for a player like Jake Bowen, who needs cutting leads and wants to minimize bass that can interfere with high-gain tones. Speaking of that, I did promise to show you the difference between the normal pickup position and the Ibanez JBM Quad 9's altered position, so let's listen to those audio demos now. The difference here was a lot subtler than I expected, but I heard a tightening of the low end, and it just sounded overall more modern, if I can drop an overused term. Hopefully you get what I mean. I don't think you need to worry about whether this pickup will sound good in the normal position versus the other position. I think both sounded great. I do remember when I was making these demos, the moment that I played the Mirage in the JBM's position, I immediately thought to myself, oh, I like this better. But now listening back, I don't know if I have a preference. But again, this pickup change makes a lot of sense for Jake Bowen's style. Now, part of this is that he needed a 27 fret guitar to play Mile 0 live in their shows, but it's also accomplishing the tonal goals that he wants for his lead playing. So now, the last thing that I think is really important to share is split versus parallel. If you're getting this pickup, you're likely wondering which way to go. Now, I'll play some quick audio demos in a second, but I'm just gonna flat out give you my advice here. Go with parallel. In my opinion, I liked it better in every way. I found the split to be thin, and all the high fidelity you get with a split was still there in parallel, so check it out. Alright, that's a wrap on the DiMarzio Mirage. I think for this style, this is a great set. Especially in the world of HS or HSS guitars, it can be hard to find a neck strat pickup that is designed for modern metal. And if you're looking at this set, that's probably what you're trying to play. I still preferred the Chopper for the crunch track and the clean track, but the leads cut through really well with the Mirage. If you have any other questions about this set, feel free to shoot me a comment and I'll get back to your question. There is one last thing that I haven't tested yet that I think would be really interesting. How would the Mirage neck pickup sound in the bridge position? Most of the DiMarzio rail pickups, including the Chopper, are used in the bridge position most of the time. So what if we compared it there with DiMarzio's other rail pickups? Let me know if you think that the video would be interesting to you. DiMarzio, if you're watching and you'd like to see that comparison, I'd love to work together to make that happen. So lastly, thank you to everyone who stuck around to the end. We'll see you in the next one. Take care.